next one I'm going to do is number 11, but before we jump into that, I just want to go down here and remind you guys about consecutive integers. We talked about this a little while ago, consecutive integers. Remember, consecutive integers are integers that just come right after the other. So for example, we could have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc., etc. And in terms of x's, if x was our first consecutive integer, what would be the next one? We'd say x plus 1. That would be the second consecutive integer. The third one would be x plus 2. That would be your third consecutive integer. I hope you're remembering this. Just a quick review. If we have consecutive, we'll do even integers. Okay, that would be like 2, 4, 6, 8, etc. If x is your first consecutive even integer, how do you go? What do you add to go from 2 to 4? You add 2. So x plus 2 is your second consecutive even integer. And then how do you go from 2 to 6? You add 4. That's your third consecutive even integer. And the same thing, if you think back to when we did this a couple units ago, it's the same thing when you do consecutive odd integers. Okay, that would be things like 1, 3, 5, 7, la la la. So if 1 was your first consecutive even integer, how do you go from 1 to 3? You add 2. How do you go from 1 to 5? You add 4. So this is the same setup for consecutive even and consecutive odd. Don't get thrown off by the 2 and the 4 and think that only belongs with even. That's just a little review. Okay, so the one I'm going to go over on your homework tonight is number 11. And so that one says, find two positive consecutive odd integers such that the square of the first added to 3 times the second is 24. Okay, so again, you have to define your variables. So we're going to let x be the first consecutive, what are we asking for? Positive, they want a positive, odd integer. And we're talking about odd integers and only 2 of them. So x plus 2 will be the second consecutive positive odd integer. So there I am defining my variables. So it says the square of the first. Well, what's your first one? That's x. So I have x squared because it says square of the first. Added 2. Okay, so that means to do plus 3 times. Okay, 3 times the second. Well, what's your second one? X plus 2. And then it says is, remember in math is means equals 24. So there is your equation. So you're going to distribute in the 3 and get 3x plus 6. You're going to get everything to one side. You're going to want to subtract the 24 from both sides. You're going to get a negative 18. 6 minus 24 is negative 18. Again, at this step you can do quadratic formula, completing the square. You cannot do square roots because you have that middle term. You can also factor, and this does factor. So looking for 2 numbers that multiply to negative 18 and add to positive 3. And hopefully you're going to tell me that is positive 6 and negative 3. Using the zero product property, you're going to get negative 6 and 3. Okay, remember though that first of all we wanted positives, so negative 6 is out. And let's just check, is 3 a positive odd integer? Yes. So the question was find 2 positive consecutive odd integers. So 3 is the first one. What's 3 plus 2? 5. So your answers are 3 and 5.